I'm so excited to do this. So, welcome to the grand reveal of the empire equation. Now, when I was thinking through this, I was originally just going to explain the concept and describe it as an equation. But then this afternoon, I decided to take a nap before going live. And I love that I have created a business where I can take a nap whenever I please, pretty much. And everything still runs beautifully. And while I was pseudo napping in that beautiful little twilight zone, I realized this is actually an equation, okay? And I love this even more because if you know me personally, you may know that my paternal grandfather was a man who actually would have turned 100 years old yesterday. Is that right? Yeah, yesterday. Today's the 4th as I'm filming this. He would have turned 100 years old yesterday, February 3rd. And he was actually the director of high energy physics for the United States of America for over 20 years. Why do I say that? Because what I realized is that this, I've got it in my notes written out, it's gorgeous, is actually an equation like if Einstein came up with an equation, okay? If Einstein ever wanted to build an online business, I wonder if he would think through it like this. And I love, if you can hear sirens, every time I hear sirens, I'm like, confirmation. Something I'm saying is absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to show you today is not only the description that I planned to, which I'm still going to teach you guys, don't worry. I'm going to actually show you though also how this works out as a legit equation. And here's the cool thing about an equation. Like anything that you can lay out and see strategically in a more almost numerical way, even though we will be using letters in it, it allows you to figure out more easily what's not working and how to change it, right? What needs to be tweaked, what needs to be improved versus feeling like kind of that this is just one big glob and none of it's working and you don't know how to fix it and none of it makes sense, right? Ever felt that way when you're building an online business? All day, 100%. I totally understand. So we don't have to do that anymore because we have the empire equation. Now I'm going to lay this out for you and then I'm going to describe, for those of you who have already seen me describe the $1 Million Empire Business Mastermind, the different levels that there are in that according to how much experience you have online, for those of you who are going to be building a business online, and how much expertise and how much income you've already brought in, and what the goal is using this equation at each level, okay? But first, let's get into it. Ready for this? I want to make sure, yes, you can see the whole board, perfect. Okay, I'm going to write it out and then I'll explain what each one means. This is VV, and I have to double check my notes because I wrote it down as soon as it came through, plus EV, okay, plus OM. I promise this is going to be so clear when I'm done explaining it, times, this is an X factor determined by you. I'll explain that in a second. CV equals second X factor determined by you, DM. Okay? Oh, this is so cool. Oh, I forgot the other piece, okay? Over P to the 5th. I had so much fun when I realized it worked out this way. Let me describe what this is now, okay? So in layman's terms, if you will, not in physical terms, not in physics terms, how many of you have ever tried to build something online, or maybe just looked into it, researched different systems, etc., or maybe you've been out there, right? People who come to me are everything from dreamers to 8- and 9-figure entrepreneurs. Because I not only have a really powerful way of describing how to build a business, I know how to build a beautiful life while I do it. And I watch a lot of entrepreneurs ruin their lives, is a strong word, but ruin things that should matter more to them in the pursuit of numbers. And I refuse to do that. And so a lot of people who also refuse to do that, or who find themselves either on the slippery slope precariously heading toward that kind of mentality, or sometimes very disappointingly surrounded by people who they've realized actually have that numbers over life mentality, and they don't want to become like that. Okay, so I've worked with all kinds of different people, but when I was first building my online business. This was, I incorporated 12 years ago, friends. I started about 15 years probably ago. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I wanted to help. And I wanted to help full time so that I didn't have to have any other job. You know what I'm talking about? Now, in the beginning, I actually just wanted to help, right? Someday, in fact, I have my story of how I started my online business already on this channel. You guys can go watch that if you want. But my first driving reason was I wanted to bring information to people who needed it, and I couldn't find a way to do that through all of the various kind of gatekeeper worlds that exist, right? Not through ministry or through, other people's businesses or enterprises. There was always a block. And not even a bad one or a mean one. It's just people had different goals and felt that there were different priorities based on their understanding of what was most needed. And I was over here with my vision and felt, no, this is what's important and this is what's missing. And I don't, even need them to change what they're doing, but this should exist too. And then I realized, and I had some beautiful friends introduce me to the concept of having an online platform where I became aware I could build the thing that exists too, right? It could be my own business. So I stumbled through the process of figuring out how to make money online. It took me years. I don't love that, but I also do because I learned everything the hard way. And I feel like I learned it better because I did it that way. Coding my own websites, building in WordPress.com, then WordPress.org, and then in Leadpages, and then in ClickFunnels. But I didn't know that I needed these pieces. Okay, and so I want to walk you through these pieces today. Now, I'm going to do a longer video series on each of these pieces. So if you'd like access to that, make sure you comment or you message me or you email me. Find me on the internet, friends. I'm very easy to find. I'm all over social media. It's always the same, Jackie Lacroix. Let me know, because that's going to be really deeper onto each of these concepts. But today I want to give you the overview, okay? I want to give you the overview of what each of these words not only stands for, each of these letters, acronyms not only stands for, but what it means and represents, so you can get a picture of what this puzzle looks like and how glorious it is when you put it all together. And then I'm going to describe, as I said, the goal of the different levels of the $1 Million Empire Mastermind. Whether you're a maverick and you're getting started in online business, you're a master, you have traction, and now you want to scale without ruining your life, or you're a mogul, you've already made $1 million online and beyond, and now you want to make sure you're building a legacy and a life that you love while still maintaining cash flow and financial freedom. Cool. Or creating it if you're not quite there yet to the freedom level you desire, then let's fix that, because a lot of people will hit big numbers and not retain big freedom. And that's a non-negotiable for me. So let's dive into what each of these things mean. Ready? Okay, so VV stands for visibility vehicle, okay? Visibility vehicle. What does this mean? It means, where do people find you online? Where do people discover you? Where do people hang out and they stumble on you? How do people learn that you exist, essentially, right? And as I'll explain when I go deeper into each of these sections in the training series that you're more than welcome to have access to, if you want it, you can just let me know. There's so many different ways to create visibility. So often, if you are in the world of online business trainings, it can feel like there's only a handful and there's only one that's right, or which one is right, or which one's the best, which one's the fastest, which one's the smartest. And the bottom line is, the one that's the bestest, the bestest one, the one that's the best, the smartest, and the fastest is the one that fits you, okay? It's funny because I go to Paris a lot, as many of you probably know. I go to France a lot. And many people, when they meet me and they want to know if I'm on Instagram, or they ask, if I have a handle or whatever it is, they assume that I'm an influencer. Right? That I am making money from brand deals primarily, and I am not. I am making much nicer money than that. No offense to the brands, I'm sure they're lovely, right? And every now and then there's something that comes along that's a really good fit, but my style, my visibility vehicle, is more in alignment with influencer style, and that's extremely specific. I'm not going to get into my whole strategy here, that's for deeper dives, but it is an example of, you don't have to fit the molds that you're often presented of. Every coach or thought leader needs to have those talking head videos where the little text goes across and their entire Instagram feed looks I don't know, I find that personally kind of boring, no offense, right? But there's other people out there who love it and who it's a perfect fit for. So there's really very few wrong answers. Now there are some wrong answers, and really the only wrong answers are either a visibility vehicle that doesn't actually work, that isn't actually getting you visibility, or a visibility vehicle that you hate, right? One that you don't like, that you don't want to show up for, that you dread. And believe it or not, there are coaches out there who tell people to just kind of suck it up and do the visibility vehicle that they don't necessarily love because it's the system that worked for that guru or that coach. And so now, in the name of selling it, they're trying to get everybody else to do the same thing, when in reality, human design is so much more specific and fine-tuned, and it's so much more complicated than that, that to shove someone into, especially a visibility vehicle, but really any of these things that you're about to see and understand, that isn't the right fit for them, is almost cruel, in my opinion, and certainly is very often ineffective, okay? So a visibility vehicle is how people find out that you exist on the internet. But we don't just want them to know that you exist, right? We want them to play with you in the nicest, cleanest term. We want them to engage with you. We want them to come to know and like and trust and even love, respect, and regularly return to your content, to your presence or your multiple presences on the internet. So we need an engagement vehicle, okay? Engagement vehicle. So for example, when I'm doing my lifestyle-centered Instagram marketing, if you will, or Instagram posting, and people find me and are drawn to the way I live my life, naturally it leads to questions. What does she do to look like that after children? What is she, how has she bounced back after so many different things that have happened in her life? What kind of business does she run that she can live this lifestyle and have so much free time? All of these different questions come when they find your visibility vehicle, as they will no matter which one you choose of all the different ones that I'll reveal in that training. But once they found you, now we need them to get to know you, okay? So when I post my content on Instagram, for example, I know many of you follow me there, I interact with the people who are commenting and who are liking and who are watching the stories, and I post little polls and all these kinds of things. If someone leaves a comment, I almost always reply. At times there are posts that blow up and I can't get to all the comments, but I try as best I can to get to every comment. One, what does that do? It massively increases my reach, but it, more important to me, increases the connection that the person who just took the time to like and comment on whatever that post was, it builds a bond, okay? Now, one thing I don't do is assume that just because someone has liked or commented on a post, perhaps it's about something that I am selling or a new offer or something like that, attacking them in the DMs, assuming that they therefore must be interested and want to know more and get on a call, right? This is about engagement. This is not about scaring people off. So we have an authentic, attractive, aligned visibility vehicle, way people are finding you on the internet, and then an authentic, aligned, in integrity engagement vehicle, way they're going now from seeing that you exist to interacting with you and really liking you. It always blows my mind when I see gurus and coaches who have built something beautiful on the internet and people are coming, people that they either paid for paid traffic or that came organically and found them through perhaps referrals or I don't know, a hashtag or something like that. And they show up and they say something lovely and the person doesn't reply at all, right? Now you could say, well, maybe they're really busy and they're running a big company, a big team, maybe, but they have a lead who's aligned with exactly, hopefully their visibility vehicle is aligned and they're putting out there who they are and what they want to be and who they want to be and what they want to be doing in the world. Otherwise we have a whole lot of other problems, right? But that's a whole other topic for another day. If they've got someone who's engaging with what they're representing themselves to be, if it's aligned, they have a perfect client or perfect follower who could turn into a client wanting and asking to engage. And when they essentially ghost that person by not having even at least a team member somehow reply, it always blows my mind. So I find even watching influencers who work with brands, when they're bothering to engage with the people who follow them, who comment, who write, who like all of their different things, their account not only grows, but I just watch the trajectory of the opportunity that comes to them, the reputation that they build. It's solid because they have a very solid engagement vehicle. Now, you don't need to do that one, okay? If you're like, Jackie, I don't want to live on Instagram. I don't want to hire a team to live on Instagram. In fact, I hate Instagram altogether. That's fine. There are so many different engagement vehicles that fit all kinds of different personality types, all kinds of different internet preferences as far as what you like to do, how much time you want to be spending, where you like to hang out, what comes easily and naturally to you, what feels fun. For me, when I open my Instagram in the morning, after I've had my personal time in the morning, there are definitely $1 million empire boundaries, empire building boundaries, okay, about how you create a beautiful life as well as a beautiful business. So when I do finally get to my phone, it is such a joy to see what people have written on my Instagram because they're all aligned. I have done the work to be in alignment with what I'm putting out there. So the people who are finding me are aligned with who I am. So when they write me, it's always like nice, wonderful, lovely things that I love. I love reading and I love seeing because I'm so intentional about how I've designed the way I attract the people who I want to have. Okay? So E is for engagement vehicle. And once we have them engaged, we have what I call an offer menu, okay? Now, there are many people who talk about offers on the internet these days. It makes me a little bit sad. Buckle up. Because many people have only created an offer that is about helping people with their offers. What do I mean? Many people have never actually created an offer on the internet that sells. They're simply solving the same problem that they have never actually solved themselves. Now, that's a personal opinion. Some people are perfectly fine with teaching a theory that they have never put into practice. I don't personally like that. I don't love learning from people who have never actually succeeded. They've just learned how to repeat a system. And again, that's okay if that's a good fit for them and maybe it feels aligned for you. That's cool, you do you. I personally like to sell things and really learn them well. So I know that niche, I know that market, I know that audience, I know its language, I know its psychology very, very deeply. And then I help people figure out how to build offers as well. I've built offers in the relationship space of different areas of relationship space, in the wellness and health space, in the wealth and business space, in the femininity space, all kinds of different niches. And I've built them and I've sold them very successfully. So I know how to build offers, not just in theory, but in practice. And there's a level of mastery, I believe, that comes from having done that. So it always makes me a little sad when people just give up very quickly on trying to create any kind of offer other than getting out there and saying, I can help you with your offer, but can you? Because you've never sold one other than promising to help someone sell theirs, which is okay. If that's for you, generally it's not for me. And a lot of people who are drawn to my work feel a little bit off with it too, okay? So we need an offer menu. We need more than one offer that we offer. So the people who push offers are usually saying only sell one. And I disagree, friends. In theory, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? In theory, it sounds crisp, clean, concise, consolidated, you know what I mean? Like efficient, effective. In reality, how many of you have ever walked into a store and they've only sold, let's just say, how about this, right? Like a black shirt. Although this is a dress and it's really cute. I should show you the stockings at the end. Maybe I will. If you walk into a store where they only sell, for example, black V-neck t-shirts, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way, and you need a whole outfit, right? Or you want a t-shirt, but you haven't picked the color yet. Black is one option you're considering, but a white V-neck could look really good. Maybe a colorful V-neck. I'm a big fan of red, anything as well. And yet the store only sells black t-shirts, right? If you are ready to buy, but they only have one thing to offer, and it's not the thing that you've realized you actually most feel aligned with right now, you're not going to purchase there, are you? You're going to say, thank you so much. I'll think about it. I'll figure out my outfit and I promise I'll be back. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Doesn't mean you're lying, but it just means you know you need to look elsewhere because they don't have that many options. I don't like not having options. I don't like not offering options. I find that in the real world, yes, people don't want to be confused, but they also don't want to be boxed in and pushed in a direction that doesn't feel aligned. They want a menu. What if you went to a sit-down restaurant? I'm not talking about, the hot dog stand where you go if you know you want a hot dog. I'm talking about you go out to dinner with your friends and you're not sure what you're going to order. Maybe you pick the type of food. You've picked Mexican or you picked Italian or picked French. And you sit down and they only have quiche on the menu. And maybe you hate eggs, right? What are you going to do? No, they give you a menu. If you're at an established, larger scale restaurant, they most likely have maybe something that they specialize in, but they have also side salads, they have the dessert menu, they have the beverages, they have appetizers, they have things that are vegetarian, they have options because they respect, I think, the human free will and right to be able to choose, but they also know that you might not even know until you walk in what you're in the mood for, and they would be silly to only have one thing available. They'd miss out on a lot of sales, right? Now, that said, we don't want to have such an offer menu that it feels like the Cheesecake Factory. No offense to the Cheesecake Factory. I happen to love them. But their menu is kind of like a small book, if you've ever been there, right? There are so many pages that by the time you're on page 10, you don't even remember the first page. And so you got to go back and figure out, did I want that? Nope, let's go back, right? It's enormous. And I don't want you, especially when you're a beginner, to be building a business that has so many different parts of it that you can't get traction in any direction because you're half building a dozen different things. So we want an offer that's cohesive, but we want it to be a menu so people have different options. Now, as I'll explain in a second, this is especially important when you're at the Mavericks level. When you're at the Masters level and the Moguls level, we can expand a little more without panic. But in the beginning, you want to get off the ground. I just don't want you to get off the ground with only one wing, okay? We want a menu that people can choose from so that if they can spend 10 grand with you, great. If they can spend 2 grand with you, fantastic. 500, cool. 200, amazing. 100, 20, 5, etc. You want the full range of prices available without multiplying your work to create those products, and I will definitely show you how to do that in the mastermind. There's a specific way or a couple ways of doing that. And yet you want to have the menu and you don't want it to be so widespread that you can't get it off the ground, which is why having a very effective way of building out a couple different options is so important, okay? So we have the way that people find you on the internet. We have the way that they engage you and come to fall in love with you and make you a part of their everyday routine or their weekly routine, or you feel like a friend even though they've never met you, right? That's the vibe you want. They know you, like you, trust you already, which means then when the offer menu is presented, they're hungry. And they're not just hungry, but they're determined to want to work with you. I hear from people all the time who are like, I don't even really fully understand what you're offering yet, but I'm in, right? Because I will pre-launch a lot of different things. I'll throw out an idea to see if the market's interested, and so many people will be interested before they even have the details because I have done this so well. They know me, like me, trust me, and they're in because they know me. They know my integrity, they know my energy, they know my intelligence, they know my authenticity, they know I deliver, right? So, visibility vehicle, engagement vehicle, plus your offer menu. Now this is where it gets exciting. Maybe even it can feel a little bit confusing, but it shouldn't feel confusing. It should feel fun, okay? This is where it gets fun, and this is where we actually sell the offer, okay? So CV stands for conversion vehicle. Conversion. This is where and how you sell, okay? Now, conversion vehicle, because there are so many different ways to sell. There are webinars. People love challenges, master classes. I'm not the biggest fan of those because they take a lot of time. There are video sales letters. There is selling in the DMs. There's selling over the phone. There's cold calling. There's by referral. There's a million different ways to sell things. But at some point, if you want to have an online business and not just an expensive internet-based hobby, you need a conversion vehicle that works and that fits you and that fits your lifestyle. Just this morning, I was texting a great friend of mine who was building something that we're doing together even more and offering for me to have a certain role in it. And I said, look, I got to just shoot straight with you. I can't do that. Not that I can't, I refuse, and he's really chill and was laughing his head off because he already knows me quite well. But it was a conversion vehicle that I am not on board with personally because of my life goals, especially in this season, but frankly, probably for my whole life. So you need a conversion vehicle, a way of selling. The people who have found you, come to love you, looked at what you have to offer, are very interested. Now they're making their purchasing decisions, and you want them to make those purchasing decisions in a way that maintains the integrity of your brand and their interactions with you, but also fits the way you like to live. How many of you want to sell in a way that allows you to still love your life? Yes? Oh my gosh, friends, so essential. Now the X factor is referring to exactly that. The X factor is how many times, right? Now you may say, well, I want to make a bunch of money, Jackie. I should sell as many times as I can. And I agree with you, which is why certain conversion vehicles are my favorites. But other people prefer other conversion vehicles, right? For example, the people who love to run live challenges will often do it maybe once a month, once every other month, or once a quarter, right? They have a flow in which they've gotten used to. That is the frequency of their conversion vehicle, of that conversion vehicle that they've chosen more accurately, right? If there's someone who, for example, I know a wonderful life coach who opens her private mastermind twice a year. Doors open twice a year. When they're closed, they're closed. So her number of conversion vehicles for that offer on her menu, she does have others, but for that offer on her menu, her number of conversion vehicles, the X is 2. Okay, so multiplied, the offer menu would have your prices here. The visibility vehicle would be how many people are coming in. I'll go through this at the end again, don't worry guys. How many people see you? How many people like you and really regularly engage? How many offers are you selling and at what price points? And how frequently are you selling them? Okay? Now, that equals your, ready? I couldn't make up my mind, friend, okay? So you're welcome to tell me in the comments which you prefer, but this DM stands for delivery method or delivery menu, okay? And what I mean by that is that if you have an offer menu, which I recommend, as I described earlier, you'll probably have a delivery menu as well. In other words, with each of those items that you're offering, for example, if you had a higher touch coaching program for 20 grand, but you had a self-study course version of some of that content for 2 grand, then the delivery method on that menu for the higher touch coaching program would include live coaching, but the course version, 2K, on that menu, the method there on your delivery menu would be self-study course somewhere, hosted on the internet, right? So you're gonna have different delivery methods, and the X again is how many times you want to deliver it. Right? If you're selling a course, you're delivering that thing 24/7. It's infinite, right? They can wake up at 3 a.m. on whatever time zone they're in and log in and be inspired and go back to sleep, and you didn't have anything to do with it. If you're selling a mastermind maybe that meets twice a year, your delivery method, if that's the only thing that's part of the offer, which you probably have calls or something in between, but let's say you don't for the sake of this example. If you meet twice a year, then your delivery method happens twice a year, okay? So, ta-da. Now there's one more piece, the P's, right? The 5 P's. Oh my gosh, I have to make sure I write all of them down. P to the 5th, P stands for protection. What's to the 5th, guys? It's not squared, obviously, it's not cubed. What's the word for to the 5th? The P is for protection, okay? What are we protecting? Let's look at my list. We're protecting your time. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. We're protecting, I could have put these two together, but I kept them separate because I do think they're separate. You're protecting your energy, which is not just how much time you expend, but who you expend it with, right? How many of you know or have ever had, heaven forbid, a client who, when they email you, your whole heart just sinks. And you're like, God, not them, Your energy is very important, and it's going to, if you're wise, affect how you design the ways you want to deliver, the offers that you offer and the people that you're attracting, because your energy is your greatest asset, in my opinion, certainly as a human being. Okay, now the next thing you want to protect, speaking of assets, is your IP. Outside of your being as a human being, in my opinion, your IP is right up there as one of the top things you want to protect. All of these, honestly, as I'm looking at them, you want to protect. They're essential. But IP is your thoughts. In fact, I have this book that I probably will talk more about that I bought for my children the other day. It's on the couch right now. It says Rescuing the Declaration of Independence. I bought it at Mount Vernon last month. And the synopsis is essentially that when the British came to burn Washington, D.C., after we declared, revolution, independence, etc., one wise man realized that if the whole city was going to burn, if the buildings were going to burn, the buildings could be rebuilt, but the words, the concepts, the beliefs that the foundation of the country was established on needed to be saved, because that was not only the morale that needed to be preserved and protected, but it was literally the ideology, the ideation of the ideology that got this country off of the ground. And so that was the most important thing to protect. And it's the story of how he rode to hide it in all these different places, and he had to keep moving it because things kept getting burned down. It was amazing. So your thoughts are precious, priceless, and very easily stolen on the internet. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot in this mastermind about protecting your IP, because I'm fierce about it. And I want you to be too, okay? Now the fourth one is your platforms. What do I mean by that? I mean protecting the places you show up online. This is about preventing website hacking. This is about preventing social media hacking. This is about protecting all of the places that you are showing up for visibility, for engagement, maybe even for conversion and delivery, but usually it's more front-facing. Making sure that they are bulletproof. And there's ways to do it, and many people don't bother until it's too late, so I want to set you up for success there because it's invaluable and it will save you so much time and so much money to do it right. And then the fifth P we want to make sure we take care of, which is maybe the most valuable of the whole list, is your reputation, okay? This is actually one of the reasons why I have started this entire mastermind. I deeply believe that people get tripped up and can lose their excellence of reputation if they're participating in parts of this equation that are not aligned with them. If they start living into a visibility vehicle or a way of engaging, or they don't engage, or whatever it may be, that is not authentic and in integrity, if they start selling offers that they actually don't really know how to deliver, if they start, hopefully there's nothing going on weird with conversions, but maybe they're making promises that they don't hold up, or maybe they just can't, right? They haven't designed the whole thing and they haven't figured out that that's actually not tenable because they started a little too quickly without a plan that was in place, okay? So your reputation is first established through your behavior. And if your behavior is impeccable, your reputation will be intact. Because if your behavior is impeccable, if people are going to damage your reputation, they would have to lie. And there are lawyers for those who lie, right? So live well, live in alignment, live in integrity. And this is not something you really have to worry about other than being prepared in case people don't know how to behave, right? So isn't this gorgeous? I mean, I don't know if you're as excited about this as I am, but this is so exciting because now you can see exactly which piece you do or don't have in place. And this is the case even for multi-millionaire entrepreneurs who have kind of built messily, which, hey, I did in many ways, totally understand that. But when you want to scale and increase your income and your impact without increasing the amount of time you have to invest doing that so that you can still enjoy your life and preserve your health and your precious relationships and all of those kinds of things, you have to pull back, right? But you don't want to lose what you've grown. So you need to have a plan and a system in place so that you can effectively turn up certain knobs while not needing to be more present in the business to make it work, okay? So the visibility vehicle is the number of what we would call, let's have some fun, the number of eyeballs. This is going to be a weird looking drawing, but go with me, guys. My mother's an artist. I'm not. Okay, let's make it a girl. Although it could be a guy with great lashes, right? The visibility vehicle is how many eyeballs are on your stuff. How many eyeballs know that you exist on the internet, are aware of what you're doing, are aware that you're even there, right? So many people have online business dreams and they are ferociously in hiding. And I completely understand. But if you're not showing up, how on earth are people going to be helped by you? Okay? And one of the reasons many people don't show up is because they think that they have to be forced into a visibility vehicle that does not work for them. I happen to love video. I think video is so much fun. And it's very easy for me to turn on the ring light, throw on some lashes, hop in front of a camera, and just go with like no script. I wrote this down so that I wouldn't mess up all the letters. But other than that, I'm just rolling. Okay? Now, other people, video is terrifying. Right? They don't like it. And there are some coaches who are like, but you have to get on it. I will tell you, of course you don't have to. Of course you don't have to. Things were sold for thousands of years very effectively before video was ever in existence. There are other ways, right? So many people these days are loving Substack, which I haven't gotten into and have no intention of, but many people are enjoying it, and it's the written word, right? There are so many ways to have a visibility vehicle that feels aligned, and then it's easier to come out of hiding because you're excited about it. I love posting pictures of Paris all the time. It's so much fun. It is no difficulty for me to do that at all, and it tends to actually attract the types of people who aspire to a beautiful, pleasure-based, fun, travel-oriented lifestyle, which is perfect because those are the clients I want to work with, right? Those are the people I want to hang out with too. So visibility vehicle is number of eyes that are on you on the internet and where they're on you and what they're seeing, okay? The engagement vehicle, I love this. I just thought of this, let's do it, is the number of smiles. The number of happy faces. How many people love you because they're getting a little taste of actually being seen by you? Yes, they see you, but in engagement, they are seen by you. You see them and they feel it. And they feel that sense of importance and connection and love that comes from feeling like they're not only awesome, but they're really, really nice, right? Which then means that when you put out into the world your offer menu, or the amounts, if you will, the number of, not per se money, but how much, right? So we have like the single, the double, the triple, right? How many and at what price points are you putting out offers into the world off of your offer menu to these beautiful people who have found you? And then how are you going to sell that, right? This is a very easy number to track because you're the one who decides. How many times are you converting? Are you putting them through an automated deadline funnel that leads them to a webinar that starts every 10 minutes? Therefore, count how many times a day that is and multiply that by days in a week, by days in a month, by days in a year. That's your X factor if that's your chosen conversion vehicle. Or if it's a twice or even once a year open doors for a super exclusive mastermind, it's a 1, right? So number of times you're selling. Now, the last one then is number of times you're delivering that thing or those things that you've chosen to sell. Okay? So, very exciting. Now, I know that I promised, and I want to make sure that we do this before we wrap. Where does this fit into the different layers or tiers, levels or tiers of the $1 Million Empire Mastermind, right? The Mavericks, the Masters, and the Moguls. If you're a Maverick, if you've got a big freaking dream, okay? Now, to me, a Maverick is someone who just hasn't yet hit, essentially, I want to say a 6-figure year, right? So I was in the Maverick phase for a long time at the beginning, friends, because I was trying all these different visibility and engagement and offer and conversion and delivery vehicles, and I hadn't hit on one that worked both for me and for the people who wanted to work with me. And it was a lot of trial and error, which is why I'm so excited about this, because I'm going to help you cut through and shortcut a lot of trial and error by figuring out what that path is for you, okay? So the path of the Maverick in the Empire equation, which I should write at the top, is, somebody's going by with music, I love it, is to get one sequence converting. Okay? What I mean by one sequence is one all the way through. At least one visibility vehicle, one engagement vehicle, one offer at least, but I prefer at least a mini menu, 2 or 3 offers, 2 or 3 versions of that offer, one conversion vehicle, doesn't mean it's only one time, but one type, one style of conversion vehicle, and one type or style of delivery method that's working. So that boom, across the path, it's working. And that's when online business goes from being slightly stressful, let's be real. If you have a goal and it feels like you haven't gotten traction, it can feel defeating, even though it's still incredibly intoxicatingly fun. This is when it gets really fun. Because this is when the thing you love to do is making you money. You know you're making a difference. You're legitimately driving an income. Big happy face. And online business is like so much fun, right? And this is very legitimately where someone can hang out. You can just get one sequence converting and be like, cool, I have done my work in the world. I am happy with who I am and what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time and who I'm helping. I'm good. I will just let that run, right? What we would do then maybe is automate it and go forth and do whatever the heck you want with the rest of your life. You don't even need to work. Or if you want to, you can do something that you love, because now you've got one full empire sequence, full empire equation converting. Okay? Number 2, if you're a master, to me, the masters are about between 100,000 and $1 million, right? Rough estimates. Essentially, though, this is someone where one of these sequences, even if it's messy, even if it's sloppy, even if it hasn't been automated yet, it hasn't been polished yet, they aren't even sure how the heck they fell into it, but it's working. It's working. It's working. They're showing up somewhere, they're getting great engagement somewhere, they're sending those people to the offers, the offer is converting, they like the way that they're converting it, and they like the delivery method. They've got a path that's working, okay? If they're a master, we're gonna add another path or two. Okay, or you could call it a sequence. I like to call it a sequence because it does matter what order it's happening in. Add a second or third sequence. Okay, the goal at the master's level is going to be to stabilize, make sure that that first sequence of all the way through conversion and delivery is stable, solid, your reputation's looking great, you're loving the way your time and energy is spent, your IP and your platforms are protected. Now that that's locked on, let's add another income stream. Or 2. Let's open up another part of your offer. What we really want to do, in fact, if I were going to put one more thing on here, and I don't think I have the space, I would do a big B at the top for your brand. This is where we really start thinking about who are you known as on the internet? What is your unique brand positioning? What is the identity, the community that you've built that no one else can touch because it's so unique and it's so aligned with who you are, right? If you follow me, you know mine is the bombshell. I've had so many other people use that word and it just isn't working the same way. I don't know what else to say, right? Or it's their version, how about that? But when you have an identity that is deeply aligned with who you are, and it's sourced from you and from God, like nobody's messing with that. And it becomes not only who you're known as on the internet, but it starts to create an opening for other offers to come in, right? So my first offer that I ever built was called the Bombshell Body Course. It was actually first called the Body Stewardship Course, which was a terribly unexciting name, but fortunately I renamed it later after I figured that out, right? But it was a health and wellness program. It was a weight loss, love your body, feel confident, and do it all from a God-fearing, God-loving perspective, because that really wasn't very common at that time. Okay, this was literally 2014, 12 years ago. And I created it as a course. Once people started purchasing that, then they had other topics they wanted my perspective on, because not only did I build that offer and that delivery method of the course, I built a brand and an identity around it that made people want to know more about how I was doing life in other areas. What was my take on relationships? What was my take on intimacy? What was my take on business? All that kind of stuff. And so when you're a master, you want to start building that identity of your brand, of your community, and of yourself. So now you're not only known for this one beautiful sequence where you serve people, but they want your help with other things. Now it could still be connected, right? I could have stayed in the weight loss wellness space. I had a lot of goals to help people with other areas, and so I had no problem. Well, that's not true. At times I was resisting because I was scared, but I knew I was called to help people with other areas, so I allowed myself eventually to expand into them. And thank goodness, right? But it creates this magnificent opening where they're like, gosh, you're so good at blah, 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 blah. And not only are you good at it, but I love the way you do it. I love your energy. I know that I can trust you. I know that when you say I'm going to get something, I always get it. You are 100% the real deal, right? That's how you want people feeling about you, and you will have that when you do this well. Then you expand into other areas, and now you not only retain your great reputation, but you expand your ability to help people in other areas, and you bring in another income stream or two while ensuring that your current cash cow still converts. Okay. So that's what we're doing at the master's level. We're adding a second and a third stream of income so that you can start to expand without feeling stretched. You know what I'm saying? All right. It can be done so well if you do it right. And it's when people do it wrong that they get exhausted and they think it doesn't work and it's not for them and they can't do it. It's just because the system wasn't solid, okay? The final level, there's actually another level above this, but I will reveal that in the future. We're not ready for that yet. You people can't handle that yet. I'm just kidding. We're gonna do this first, but there is another level above mogul. It doesn't actually start with an M. But at the mogul level, right, which is 1 million online and beyond. So people have already generated over $1 million on the internet, not just through brick and mortar. There's a whole different world to creating an internet business that's doing this kind of degree of cash flow, right? Doesn't have to be per year, but over time, you've passed at least $1 million mark online. Then we're going to scale and simplify for legacy. Okay? When I talk to people who have done $1 million or many more, they want to make sure that that somehow doesn't disappear, not just the cash flow for whatever their family needs to be provided for and whatever their other priorities are, but they've created something, right? They've created something significant when they've built it to that level, and it's worked obviously very well. So when they built that, they want to maintain that, and they would even often, not always, but they usually want to scale, and they almost always want to simplify. And they usually want to simplify, sometimes while scaling as well still, so that they can focus on legacy more. So that they can figure out how and in what ways and how much can I give back to the world, to people, to the causes I care about, while still continuing to generate the cash flow that this has created for me. I want to maintain my reputation. I want to maintain my happy clients. I want to maintain the empire that I've built. And yet I want more even free mind space to be able to figure out what mark I want to leave on the world now. And I want to be able to figure that out while not dropping the ball on everything else. Okay, so at the moguls level, we're strategizing life more almost than the other two levels, but not necessarily, because like I said, we don't want to build anything that makes you not like your life, or we have to go back and build again. We eventually have to tear it down and rebuild it. So at the mogul level, they've built something that's working, and they want now to be able to focus on what they want to give back. And so we figure out, okay, how can this business continue, or what needs to be tweaked in the way that the offers are given or the visibility is happening? Is there anything that can be automated? We're essentially going to try to automate the whole thing. This is where I call it the automated empire, right? They haven't done it yet necessarily, but they want to at this level. So they want to automate as much as they can so that the systems can continue, so that scaling can happen, so that it can be so much simpler for them, so that they have more time, still as much or more money, and a lot more sense of freedom and free mind, brain, energy to be able to figure out, what do I want to do now? How can I serve even more greatly without dropping any of the balls that I have currently in the air? Okay? So my friends, that is the empire equation. This is, in my opinion, I've had a couple things throughout my life that just drop in. And the Bombshell Manifesto, the pillars of a biblical bombshell, was one of them. There's been various things, even the bombshell concept, quite frankly. This is one of them. And on that little chaise lounge that I have in my office here earlier today, and then realizing that it was my physicist grandfather's 100th birthday yesterday. He would have been 100 years old. And then this really cool equation way of figuring out, is your online business working yet? What do you need to build next? What do you need to fix first? What's not aligned? What's not working? Where are the numbers not working? Where are you freaking hating what you're doing? There it is, the full picture. Now, as I said, if there's one thing are we going to add here, in fact, we can even kind of add it a little bit. Let's see. Let's go under here. Boop, boop. And it's going to be B, right? B for your overarching brand identity, for the concept you create for your clients to aspire to something higher. In my world, we have bombshells and we have bosses. And as I slightly teased, maybe later this year, maybe not till next year, we're going to have something even more epic that has its own identity, but we'll get there later. For now, I invite you to take this and figure out, where are you right now, right? Do you have a visibility vehicle, a way of people finding you on the internet? Do you have a way of engaging with them? Do you love both of these? Are they working? Are they aligned with you? Are they leading effectively to the offers that you want to sell that are aligned with you? Are the offers converting? How are the offers converting? Do you know and do you like the way they're converting, or do you hate it and want to get the heck out of it, or want a different way, or a couple different ways, right? And then the delivery, are you loving it? Is it too frequent? Is it not frequent enough? Is the money coming in? Is it coming in fast enough? Is there a profit margin? All of these questions you want to answer. And we get one of those sequences locked on when you're a Maverick. We add a second one and a third one on top of what we have simplified, automated, and made scalable to the first one when you're a master. And when you're a mogul, we simplify your multiple streams of income, making sure that you love all of them, they're all aligned, they all feel amazing. And then it's all about designing legacy, which is what we'll introduce next year. All right, my friends, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was as fun for you to learn as it was for me to teach. I'm so thrilled about this. I'm going to take each of these sections deeper in a training series that will release over the next 2 weeks. So if you would like access to that, just make sure you find me on Instagram, for example, my favorite visibility vehicle place, at Jackie Lacroix Official, or you can message me there. If you find me on Facebook, you're welcome to send me an email, however you want to do it. Whatever your engagement vehicle of preference is, I promise I'll find you, and I'd be happy to share it with you once it goes live. All right, my friends, I love teaching you, I love serving you, and most important, I love leading you back to the remembrance that there's a way to do this that feels amazing, that's in integrity, that's in alignment, and that's so much fun you can't believe it's your life, while your reputation is absolutely impeccable at the same time. It can be done, and it's called $1 million empire. If you're ready to build one, I'm ready to lead you. All right, my friends, I will talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.